Hello and welcome to this week's Four Piece Podcast. Yes, the scene looks a lot different. As a matter of fact, if you look behind me, you see clouds. You know, I'm going to tell you, you see a lot of clouds. You see a lot of clouds because we're in Buffalo and we're in Buffalo in March. And I remember back when I used to live here, the sun would go down in probably early November and would not rise again until probably first week of May. I mean, it would just be dreary, just like this out here. Now, in Buffalo's defense, the sun is shining, at least in the sports world. The Buffalo Sabres, for the first time in a long time, they may go to the playoffs. And I am very happy. As a matter of fact, as I'm recording this, I'm wearing, I usually always wear something with Buffalo on it just because it's my hometown. But tonight, the Sabres are playing San Jose tonight, and they are right now they're in first or second place in their division. They're in first place technically, but if you think about it, if you look at game, it's hockey. So if you look at games, they're probably not because they're still, you know, the team that they're ahead of still has a couple of games on them and stuff like that. But we're not talking hockey today. The reason why I am in Buffalo is because, number one, they have the greatest food in the world. So that's why I'm here. But actually, number two is I'm here for a book launch for Lessons from My Father. We're going to be at Deco, which is down at 69 Delaware. We're going to be there Wednesday, and it is going to be at 6:30 to 9:30 on Wednesday. So we're going to be uploading this. This will be up Wednesday morning, March 11th when you see this. And that's where we're going to be tonight. So if you see this later on, obviously, sorry about your luck. If this is March 12th when you watch it or even later on, hey, we had a good time. I'm going to tell you that right now. And that's for Lessons from My Father. You know, next week is going to be a very special week. Next week I am going to be going to my second home. And literally it is. I mean, in Buffalo is my hometown, but Australia is my second home. I'm going to be there I'm actually leaving the United States on the 19th of March. Won't be back until the 1st of April. But I'll be down there. I'll be in Sydney. I will be in Tasmania. I'll be in Hobart. During that time, I'm really looking forward to going back to Sydney, seeing some old friends of mine, and I'm really absolutely looking forward to going to Tasmania. There are going to be a lot of special things going on there, a lot of things that I am not going to tell you about today, but you are going to be seeing it on this podcast, and if you follow me on social media, you'll be seeing it on social media as well. A lot of special things going on down in the Hobart area, a lot of special things going on in Tasmania. So, with that being said, today's guest we have is a guy by the name of Steve Tolen. There are very few people that you meet and right off the bat, you have an instant connection. And this is one of those guys. Phenomenal guy, really funny guy. He's got me thinking about like boxing, like for real boxing, like maybe I want to get in the ring one time, you know, and at 55, you know, why not? You know, go ahead and do it, right? And I am really looking forward to that. He's just somebody who you're going to hear a slogan in there. We talk about burn the boats, burn the ships, okay? This is the epitome of that man. When we come back, we're going to have Steve Tolen. He will be my guest, and I look forward to sharing the interview I have with him. We'll be right back right after this.
Some fathers teach you how to stand tall. Others teach you how to survive. In Lessons from My Father, Dr. Trunnis Goggins II confronts the legacy of a powerful, complicated man and the truths no one talks about. This is a story of discipline and damage, loyalty and fear, love that left scars. Because sometimes the hardest lesson is understanding the man who made you. Lessons from My Father. Available now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and anywhere you buy books.
welcome back to the Four Piece Podcast. Like I was saying before the interview, I was talking about Steve Tolen. Steve Tolen is really inspiring to me. I'm going to tell you why a little bit later on. I'm not going to tell you right now. But Steve did something, and we're going to talk about more than what he just did, what really truly inspired me. But Steve did something a couple of years back, and we had a mutual friend. Now me and Steve are friends, but our mutual friend, his name is Philip James McDonald, and obviously you've seen him on this podcast more than enough times, and you're going to see him again. He is a dear friend of mine, and I love having him on here. He always has something interesting to say, and I just saw Steve smile over here about how he is. But he did something that really truly inspired me, and I'm going to just go ahead and introduce Steve. Steve is from Australia. You live in Sydney, right?
I do indeed, mate. Yeah.
Okay, and right now it is. What's the temperature there right now?
Oh, geez, it's about 25 degrees. So I'm not sure what that is in.
So 20. So 20 is 70 degrees.
Yeah.
A little bit. 71.
It's about 80.
So we're about the same temperature. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
75 here in the United States.
Okay.
So
cool.
there is a period of time when I talk to people in Australia where our temperatures are almost identical because it's the equinox, But then there's a time when it just doesn't get right at all. But anyway, welcome to the program, Steve. I would like for you to tell us what you do and why you do it. And I'm talking like your job and stuff like that.
Yeah, mate. First of all, thanks very much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. And mate, so Steve Tolen, S Tolen, it is my name. And I'm originally from the UK, from Liverpool. So came over to Oz in Friday 13th of March 2009, when my wife was five months pregnant. Neither of us having set foot in Australia, and 17 years, 3 kids later, we're still here. I've been in sales, mate, since the age of 17. Grew up very working class lad. Grew up and sold fish with my dad in a fish business before I got into recruitment at age 27. And recruitment is one of those industries. It's all about people. And I'd never turned on a computer, mate, till the age of 27. That explains a lot about my email communication. And recruitment kind of worked for me because it was all about what you put in, what you get out, dealing with people, picking up a phone. And I was always very good with this. So I really just accelerated through the ranks quite quickly, and hence got the opportunity to come to Australia in 2009. And mate, I've been the rainmaker. I lead sales teams. I'm much better at winning business, building relationships, motivating people, as you probably guessed, than probably managing things on a day-to-day. That's just not me. So I like making stuff happen, and read personality. And a couple of years ago, I took the plunge, mate, cut the safety net and said, I'm going to do something on my own, and launched Stolen & Co., which was the easiest name to come up. And people said to me, don't ever change that, man, because to market is a dream. And basically what I do is I go in, I work with businesses who need that kind of, that boost to kind of bring some new sales innovation, some energy, work with sales guys on a one-to-one basis. And as of last week, I'm just launching some online kind of group sales training, which is coming out soon. So, mate, I'm big on branding, big on high energy, and big on anything to do with kind of building relationships and business development.
I need to ask you a question that's kind of off the beaten path. You've lived in Liverpool, England, and now you live in Sydney, Australia.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question that may get you in a little bit of trouble.
Okay.
Who has the best fish and chips?
Oh, mate, that's a great question. I've got to be honest, mate. It's definitely the UK. It's definitely the UK, mate. Like, seriously. Man, I miss the British food, and not for the tell any pom who's over here, mate, and they go back and they come back putting on about 5 to 10 kilo, and you'd understand why, mate. If you grew up eating from the chippy was your mainstay. So, mate, I'm gonna have to go with the UK on that one.
Okay, that's you heard it here first. And I will say this: I've had fish and chips in the UK. I've had fish and chips in Australia. And I will have to say this: it was so long ago that I had it in the UK that I forgot. But the stuff that I did have in Australia was really good. Now, I will say here in America, fish and chips are hit and miss. You have to go to a real. It is really hit and miss, and the misses are major misses. Okay. I mean, horrible. So just be careful when you come here for fish and chips. I don't know why they call it fish and chips, man. They just, yeah, whatever. But anyway, you, and this is something that was, and I did not know this about you, and I'm going to go back to that. '09, you bring your kids,
Yeah.
okay? Literally all the way across. I mean, you really were all the way across the world. I mean, you are on the other side of the world, other hemisphere, everything. How did your family react to that?
So, mate, it was funny. I was talking about this yesterday. So, I got a job opportunity '08. I met my partner Ruth the year before, and we were living in Bristol in the UK, and found out Ruth was pregnant. You know, which was amazing. But we'd already set the ball rolling to move to Oz, and neither of us. I chased my dreams, mate, and I wanted to live abroad and do something different. And Ruth was the same, and we just felt there was an opportunity. So I literally sent my CV to a rec, so who recruit recruiters on a Sunday night, and by Monday morning I'd had job opportunities kind of come through. So fast forward through the process, late '08, when the economy was falling, you know, after the Lehman Brothers and things, it was really challenging. And Australia seemed to be, from what I saw on the news and whatever, and seems to be pumping. And there was a lot of Brits that went over, particularly in recruitment. So, long story short, accepted the job offer late October '08, and this is where that same night Ruth said I'm pregnant. And Christmas came and went '08. The visa came through Valentine's Day '09. Right, Ruth was now 4.5 months, I think, trying to do the maths. Neither of us have been to Australia. Neither of us. I just thought, this is an opportunity I'm going to grab with both hands. What could go wrong? And 27 days later, we were on the plane with 4 suitcases. That's it. I didn't have much money back then. I just had a dream, and you know, particularly when I found out I was going to become a father, it was the first decision I made as a father, and probably the best one. And I told this yesterday. It might get me a bit emotional. It's my story, but if she ever said no or wanted to back me or believe in me, we would still be in the UK, right? And there's no questions asked. But she backed me, and I remember we had a long conversation on that Sunday, which was the Valentine's Day, and she said, "You're not going to give up here, are you?" And I said, "Nah." She went, "Let's do it." And that was all I needed, mate. And I made the call that night. And what could go wrong? We landed in Australia Friday 13th of March 2009. Went into the office on the Monday. They closed the office that day. That was my entry into Australia. They closed the office. So when you talk about resilience, tenacity, backing yourself, what have you, that was day one. And so we were moving to Brisbane, and by the Friday we'd relocated to Sydney with those same 4 suitcases. And I tell that, mate, because yes, it's my story, but if she didn't back me or believe in me, we wouldn't be here. And I think you probably get I'm all heart, mate, and I just believe that you only see the positives in things, and that opportunity, if we hadn't took it, 3 kids 17 years later, and you know, we wouldn't be here, mate. So it's a very personal journey, which still to this day, you know, I can reflect on, and it gives me a lot of pride.
No, have you ever heard of Hernando Cortez?
No, go on, please.
All right, so Hernando Cortez, and let's take away the massive genocide and all that other stuff that happened that was associated with it. I mean, there are some, you know, the explorer days back in the days of exploration with, you know, the Spanish conquistadors and all that stuff like that. Yes, I understand it was a brutal time, but let's take that away and let's put the story in. Hernando Cortez went from Spain to what's now Mexico, and he saw the Aztec Empire. Aztec Empire was the most powerful empire in the Western Hemisphere at one time, the most powerful. Millions of people, I don't want to say millions, but at least 1 million people were a part of this empire. Cortez comes over. He has 500 people, maybe. And he knew that he was going to claim this for Spain, this being Australian, Mexico, not where I am. And so he was going to claim it for Spain. And so what he did, I mean, he just like in your story is almost not as, I mean, obviously you didn't go to war, but your story is almost similar. Okay. You literally went to a place that was unknown. Okay. Yeah. And what Cortez did was after he did his surveillance of the empire and of the armies and stuff like that, he ordered his men to burn the ships.
Burn the boats. Yeah.
So the way they went home,
Yeah.
they were gone. He burned it. Now they ended up going home eventually. They had to build new ships. But on the same note, we are not going to go back. We're not leaving this place without a victory. And that's exactly what I hear with this. Because you had to cover a whole entire continent, 2 continents actually, to get to to get there. You had it, because even though Britain is part of Europe, it's not on the continent. So you had to go Europe, Asia, Africa, and then get to Australia. Okay. You guys knew nothing about it. I do want to hear, and this is not where I was going with this interview at all. I had a whole other set of questions. But so you were in Brisbane. You decide, we're going to have to go to Sydney. What made that? Okay, so again, and I'm sure people are like, what caused that? Why didn't you go back to England? You went to Sydney. What happened there?
Yeah, mate. So you nailed it. Like when you said, then it's one of my favorite quotes. Talk about burning the boats, no turning back. Failure wasn't an option. So the business that was kind of weird. They kind of downsized, etc. And an opportunity came up in a much less senior role to kind of do it. So we budgeted and done everything to go to Brisbane, and it was just like, well, now let's go to Sydney. And mate, I'd gone from, I was going to run obviously the kind of Brisbane branch and do whatever leadership kind of role in terms of, and then it was just like survival. You're just going to go and hit the phones. And I was like, so we took those 4 suitcases, we went and stayed in a hotel down in Sydney in Chinatown, and mate, it was the survival instinct kind of kicked in, and I was back on the phones, making cold calls, doing whatever. And in recruitment you get paid making a placement, and I'll never forget, I made a placement within 6 weeks, and I hadn't been on the tools like that for a long time, and during those 6 weeks, mate, which ringing back, so bear in mind this is now kind of April, so she'd gone 6 months, so my son was born 15th of June 2009, right? This is now kind of April. That was how close it was. And Ruth was looking for a place to stay. We'd done all the research. We were going to live in where we were in Brisbane, down by the river and stuff like that. We didn't know Sydney, and Sydney's more expensive than Brisbane, as we then found out. Mate, we had nothing, no car, anything. She had to go and find an apartment. I remember the story very well. Didn't have a stick of furniture. She went to IKEA on her own, and of course in IKEA, you push round and you get the trolley. Right. And she had to get someone to put all the stuff on the trolley for her. And I remember Easter 2009, we were sitting in an empty apartment waiting for the IKEA guys to arrive, and I had to go and rent a fridge. I think we rented a television. This is when you're starting again. It was starting again, and then the IKEA guy arrived, and I'll never forget, they forgot the bed frame that went in the middle, so we were sleeping on the mattress in the middle of the floor in the bedroom. But mate, I look back, and there's so many stories about that time, and one I told yesterday, mate. And this is, I was pretty broke at the time, so again, staying where I was in the comfort zone. We had a house in Bristol in the UK, a little terrace, family, friends, and everyone was like, "Are you mad?" And I'm like, "Maybe I'm mad, but we're doing this." And that was it. It worked out in the way that Ruth went on maternity at the time, so it just worked out well. I'll never forget, we were both working in the same company. That's where we met, Mampa, and people said, "So where are you having the baby?" And she went, "Oh, Brisbane." And they went, "Ha ha ha, we're having the baby." She said, "Brisbane." And then when people found out we were serious, they were just like, "Are you mental?" So can you imagine all this, and it's literally on day one, the plan has gone out the window. But when I started working, and if you've been in where we lived at the time was in Manly, and it's a beautiful spot. You come in on the ferry, and the reason we ended up in Manly, mate, honestly, was the first day in Sydney. We got an all-day travel pass, and someone said to us, "You've been on the train." We were trying to do as much of a research on the suburbs, and someone said, "Go to Manly," and it goes every half an hour. We got off. I went, "This looks nice." I went, "Is there a maternity ward here?" And they were like, "Yeah, up the road." It was like, so that's how we actually ended up in Manly, mate. It was just that was it, And when we found the place and I was working, I told someone this story yesterday. With me, what you see is what you get. Ruth, we know there was antenatal classes up there, mate, and after everything we'd kind of been through, she's walking up the hill to this. And I went to this class one day, and I finished work at 6 o'clock. The class starts at 6:30. There was no way I could get there before, even if I ran like 7 o'clock. It was like half an hour in. Comes there one day, I've got this old British suit, which is like hanging by a thread, big pinstripe suit, and it's very different in Australia. You know, obviously it was made for Britain. And the midwife says, pick a card, you know, you're here, and there's like 6 or 7 dads, and she gave me this card, and she said, who's got mother? And I look, and I went, oh, jeez, okay. And she said, can you lie on the floor? I was like, okay, cool. She says, can you get in the position, open your legs, mate? And anyway, my suit was hanging by a thread. I had these 2 big holes where my pants would be, and whatever colour my undies were underneath. And I saw the midwife just go like this. And mate, I was there in all my glory, and I was like, this kind of, mate, I didn't have 2 halfpennies, like, or whatever, to kind of to put together, mate. That's how rough it was. And I tell that story with a lot of affection because 2 of our friends we met that night, Graham and Meg, from Scotland, they gave us a lift back down. They helped us get set up. They were like, we know what it's like, and they've been our friends ever since, mate. And I'll never forget those kind of days, mate. Like, you know, so mate, yeah. And I don't know, what a story.
You know, it is an outstanding story. It is a great story. It's a story that now almost paints a picture of what is so inspirational about you.
Thank you.
There are a couple things that, and you're welcome. There's a couple things that were, you know, we had a conversation a couple days ago. We were talking about, boxing, and I brought up, you know what you've done, and I want you to talk about this here pretty soon. And it actually inspired me in to like really consider it. I really do have to get over. I have to, you know, I'm telling you, you need to call my wife. I'm going to tell you, you're going to meet her here in a couple of weeks, but you need to tell her that it's going to be okay. All right, just tell her, 'cause she's like, I don't, you know, you've had too many concussions in your life. Whatever, I'll be fine. You know, so you need to tell her. But it does kind of, what you're talking about right now does paint the picture of the type of person you are. You take risk. You know, and what has this always been a part of you? I mean, or is it just something that grew?
Mate, so yeah, I mean, you know, we could go quite deep on this. So, from the age of 17, I started working with my dad. As I say, very working class guy. And when people say, who's Steve Tolen, I say, I sold fish till the age of 27, right? So we started a business together. When we started, I've got 4 sisters. Mum and dad were together. Fast forward a few years, from 17, mum and dad had split up. It was a very different kind of situation. And if I look back now, I was a person that I wasn't kind of proud of, right? You know what I mean? The business wasn't doing too well. I was your classic working class lad, went to watch my football team on the weekend. You drink, you do this, you do that. And so I just turned 27, and we had a falling out. And I actually haven't spoken to him since, which I don't mind sharing with you. We fell out and got pretty messy, and I started again with nothing. And I started again and left everything and went from my home in the UK, Liverpool, which is northwest. My sister lived in Devon, in the country, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, but I wanted to do something completely different away from that kind of space. And, you know, again, being honest, mate, I wasn't the best version of myself, right? I wasn't training, I was overweight and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, if I look back at the people, and this is on me, you know, people talk about you become, is it the 4 or 5 people that are closest to you, you know what I mean? And this is on me, you know, like, so I look and, I couldn't see where it was kind of going, and people said, like, you know, you probably need to kind of, you know, do something a bit different. So I did, and I cut myself off, and went to stay with my sister. Didn't know what I was going to do. Gone from like living in Liverpool, working class, you know, going to football. This was my kind of routine, to living in the country. And she lived in a little town called Chagford, and I joined the soccer team. And then I thought, this actually sounds quite nice. And then I went to a recruitment business, and they were like, have you got a CV? Nah. What have you done? Ran a business, sales, people, and they were like, "It's all about recruitment," and the rest is history, mate. And so, have I took risks? Yeah, I have, and calculated risks. And I realised back then that the only person you can really, really count on is yourself. You can't blame anyone for the circumstances. And what's kind of got me through even to this day is my drive. You know, it actually drives people a bit bonkers, like, because I just want to go, I want to win so much, and not everyone's like that. And as I'm getting older, I'm trying to kind of, do you know what I mean, understand that people have different. Not everyone wants to win. And I heard a great quote yesterday on a podcast, and they said, no matter how hard you try, how skillful you are, you can't force someone to come up if they don't want to. You know what I mean? That was like, geez, that's absolutely true. However, people can drag you down if they want, if you. And I thought, wow, that really resonates with me, mate. So yes, mate, I always took calculated risks, whether it's starting a business, doing whatever. The boxing, which we'll get into in a minute, was probably the biggest risk. Just being a fat bloke that really kind of went for it because I wanted to do something outstanding, mate. So, and I've realised this: the amount of people who want the reward, but they want to stay in the comfort zone. And what I mean is, they know exactly what they're going to do. There's a lot, and there's nothing. And I say this: there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong if you're happy. And I applaud you, like, and I wish I felt the same. But for me, it's like, and that's why we talk about Phil. Like, there's a guy in his 60s who just keeps powering forward, man. I find that quite inspiring. The human spirit. So, yeah, you got to take calculated risks.
Yeah, I know Phil's going to be watching this, and I will say this: I don't want to give him too much credit.
Yeah,
I really don't. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. But he is an inspiring individual, and I really do. I look up to Phil as a man, especially what he has done and what he's doing for other people, younger people, and me and you are some of the younger people. We are younger than him. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
But he is so inspiring to so many. And that is a great thing because he does. I mean, he has gone through some really crappy things health-wise and everything, and he keeps on just doing what seems to be. And it's funny because I'm 55 now, and you're getting close. And the thing is that you see people our age. See, I know people your age who have gone through like 6 or 7 hip and knee replacements and stuff like that, and they just give up. And we're going to go into this right now. You, at the age of how old when you went and did your first boxing match?
44. I was
44. And I will say that there's
49 2 weeks ago.
That's all right. You have your birthday's the same day as mine, isn't it?
4th of Feb.
That's mine. Yeah. So you're actually your birthday actually starts before mine, but mine is February. Yeah. So I'm actually, our birthday's the same day. Not that we celebrated on the same. I think our birthday is the same day for 2 hours or about 6 hours, 7 hours, something like that. But still, it's the same day. That's unbelievable. Yeah. But anyway, at 44, you went out and you did something that was incredible. As a matter of fact, there is a clip that I am going to say that I'm going to put in the podcast. I usually don't, but there is a clip that I'm putting in. This guy, who are you mad at when you went off on this guy?
Oh, mate, and it's thank you. It was a life-changing experience. So, mate, and this is where I got my affiliation for kind of boxing. Now, I'd always been a fan of boxing. My favorite brand is Boxer, and they got a very, there's so many things they talk about. It's a lifestyle, but one of their mottos is just LFG, right? You break that down. It suits that. That's me to a T, mate. Like, I just want to have a crack and see what's going on. So, mate, we come out of COVID, 2020. I'm 5'8", right? I normally sit at around comfortable kind of 90. I'm a stocky guy, right? Like, and I do like doing weights and stuff. And I got on the scales after, like most people in Sydney with lockdowns and stuff, and you could order food and blah blah blah, and your comforts, and we kind of ate and drank our way through it, mate. To be brutally honest, there was all else to do. I remember getting on the scales just after Christmas 21. I was 102 kilo. I wasn't happy with that, and broke the century for all the wrong reasons. And I just thought I need to do something. Like, I'm very driven. I need a goal, right? I need something that like really challenges me. And I saw this corporate fighter thing kind of flash up a few times, and it was just something that appealed. And I spoke to a mate, and he's a Northern Irish guy called Pete Heatley, and I rang him up, for a couple of days after New Year, and I said, mate, this corporate fighter, what do you think? And I didn't even finish the sentence. He said, just do it. Just do it. And told my wife and stuff, and mate wasn't a boxer, and she's just like, you're nuts, like, please, no, corporate guy. And I was like, here we go. Signed up, mate. So I walked in, it's a 12-week class. There was, I think, 28 or 30 people, so, you know, got grouped up. I was the second eldest. I think there's one or maybe two guys older than me, but most people were in the 20s, right? And I think it was 80% male, you know, 20% kind of female and stuff. So you do the first 4 or 5 weeks doing the fundamentals, right? Like, you know, really just trying to get into the fitness and stuff. And I was training, you had to train every evening, so 5 nights a week. So I was training double. I was privately training with a young boxer and stuff, and I was just really getting going. So when I kind of walked in, no one saw me coming, right? They're like, who's the fat bloke? Technique was terrible, right? I didn't know what I was doing. And kind of walked in and I thought, okay, I'm said I'm doing this. And there was a bit of a deep story to it. I got to know a guy who was a former Wallaby, so played for the Australian rugby team. And he was the youngest ever World Cup winner back in 1991. He was a fresh-faced, I think he was 18 at the time, in the squad, the very famous Wallabies team. And, you know, had a stellar career in rugby, played 300 games without a scratch. And he became a quadriplegic purely by, like, it was an innocuous accident. He was playing in goal, playing soccer for over 35s to keep fit, and he'd never been in goal. Goalie got injured. His name's Richard Tomsey. And I got to meet him late 2020, and I'd never known him before the injury, right? So, you know, you're trying to process this, and this guy and his spirit was just leaping out at me like, this guy doesn't give up. He still doesn't give up, mate. And I did a networking event for him, a few beers and stuff, raised a little bit of money, and I never forget, one of my mates who was a former pro rugby player said, this is the best way you can honour him, like. I said, you what? And he said, well, get on the lash kind of thing. And it stuck with me, and I was like, you know what? And that was the impetus, and I talked to a few people. So he was the purpose behind it. I did it for him and raised a bit of money. Nothing crazy. It was 5,000 Aussie, right? Like, it was just, but it was more, I was all in there, mate. There wasn't any going back, and I had him in my corner. He used to come to my training sessions when he could and stuff, you know, and it's like, it was insane, mate. When you got someone behind you, like, you know, and he would drive me on. So, mate, fast forward week 5, you start sparring. I'll never forget it. And I was crap, right? Like, I had no defense, and I'm jumping in the ring. I'd come in at 102, so above 90 you're in the heavyweight. So I was a heavyweight, not because I was just because I was overweight. So I remember being in there with these big blokes, and I was getting literally pounded in the face. And one guy, first night, on my defence, I was like, he was just picking me off on the nose. And so I drove back home about 10 o'clock one night, and my wife's normally asleep, and she's awake, and she goes, you all right? And I said, yeah. She goes, what's up? I don't know what I'm doing, like, I'm on my nose and blah blah blah. And she goes, bloody hell, Steve, you've done some crazy stuff, man, but this is boxing. So next day I goes in, and one of the coaches comes up to me, Rupert, British guy, and he goes, you all right? And I said, I don't know whether I can do this, mate. I don't know if it's for me. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, oh, look at my blood. And he goes, mate, you just had a bad spar. He goes, come in tomorrow and we'll do, okay. So I came back in, and he said to me, cover up, right? You know, what are you doing? And he says, girls, hit him. So all the girls are coming in, you know, and they're smacking me, and I'm slipping and dodging and this, that, and the other. And then he goes, right, sparring tonight. He says, get in the ring. And, you know, I've been doing some one-to-one. He'd been teaching me about blocking and stuff. And he goes, you can't hit tonight. They can hit you. And he goes, boys, don't knock them out. He said, but, you know, get in there. The first guy comes in, you know, like on this, that, and the other. Cool. Second guy comes in. Third guy comes in, Big Lucas, who's like 6'4", right? And he goes to me, just unload on him. And he goes to me, I'm sorry. And he was there and stuff, and I copped a few. And, mate, at the end of the round, right? At the end of the round, I come out, Rupert's there on the ropes. He goes, how'd you feel? And I went, I feel good. He goes, you are bulletproof. You're bulletproof. And I was just like, It was that moment. That was the turning point, man. And then, as the weight was kind of coming off, I dropped into the lower weight class. And, mate, I'll say this right now: like, I was never going to be a world champion. My technique was garbage, right? Like, but I was the best at what I could kind of be. And I got to week 10, and it all kind of clicked, like just before the fight night and stuff. And kind of knew what I was doing. And yeah, mate, they put me in there with a young chap, Lucas, who, again, and he was 27, I was 44, because he had a good engine. They try and match you up, and my engine's always been pretty decent. And
Right.
mate, there was 60 of my friends were there on the night out of 700 people. I came out. I wasn't there, to make friends with the greatest respect, right? And I was there. I knew it was. I was never probably going to do it again. And I came out and probably wasn't much technique. There was a lot of haymakers and stuff. And I had to remember it was I had to remember it was like a family event and stuff. And everyone said to me, and I laugh at this. So won the first round, won the second. And I remember being in the corner with Rupert, and he goes, "You're done." He said, "You've done this, right? Like, just chill." And it was good because I had bugger all left, mate. I'd give it everything. And so I won and got my arm raised, and it meant a lot to me. And I'm saying this, like, I'm not going to win a world title, mate. Like, you know what I mean? But I dropped 16 kilo. I fought it. I actually went down to 86, and I had to go up a little bit. I went to 88 because I was looking too skinny. And yeah, mate, that whole mind over matter. Like yeah, mate. Like, I've got so much affiliation for it. There's still my little thing there that was like, again, people kind of laugh at it or whatever, and I gotta go. Have you ever done it? Nah. Okay, cool. Have you ever fought in front of seven? No. Okay, cool. Have you ever given 12 weeks? Have you ever done it? No. Okay, cool. Can't comment, mate. Right. So I kind of did it to the best of my ability, and that was it. So, mate, it was actually life changing for me, the experience.
I'm going to share this clip at the end of the podcast. So I want to tell you right now, when you watch the end of this podcast, you got to say to the end, he looked, and I'm saying I'm talking to the audience right now. I'm not talking to Steve, who's sitting right next to me. You're actually on the screen right next to me. He lit this man up. I really thought, and so when he tells me the story, I know it's for charity. And I'm like, dude, you could have turned it down just a little bit. I mean, you were going off on that guy. I mean, it was like he must have said something to you or something.
Mate,
I don't know.
I get it, and even now, like, I look back and I felt I saw him late that night and saw him the next day and stuff. And people said to me afterwards, geez, blah blah blah. And I was like, look. And then I've spoken to people in combat sports, and they go, "But this is once you cross that line, like, and it's I don't walk around, yes, I can fire up, but it was there, and you just have to get into the moments and the thing, and, like, unfortunately, that's the thing. And my technique, mate, as I say to you, like, I look back and I go, I don't. People are looking, going, and people said to me afterwards that your technique was terrible. I remember one guy's like quite critical and goes, "What, you think that was?" I'm just like, but I did it. You can only go against who's there, right? Like,
exactly.
That's the thing, mate. So yeah, I didn't. And even now, some people go, "Geez, what were you on that night?" And I go, "Bloody hell." And I don't say that as in, like, again, I'm saying this because I'd gone through the experience. I'd done the diet. I'd done everything and stuff, and I was very proud of what I achieved. And again, mate, I knew I was only going to do it probably the once. So I've still kept up the training a little bit, been a bit iffy the last kind of couple of months. But when you put yourself out there, and I think if you feel stuck in a rut or whatever, you feel, go and do something like that, which really is the extreme. So, mate, that was where my love for kind of boxing really just kind of took off, Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one last question, and I'm going to, before I do that, I'm going to say this. You have, again, for my audience out there, this is I know that a lot of us are stuck in a rut. I know that a lot of us are tied to a leash, and that leash may be I'm not leaving my home, or that leash may be I'm not taking this risk. That leash may be I'm not going to try a new thing. My guest today has done all of that, and I'm quite certain he's going to do a hell of a lot more. What would you tell the audience to get them unstuck?
Mate, it's all about how you frame things, and this is the thing. I see this more and more now, as we kind of said, I think off air. You don't literally have to leave the house to do anything, but think about what's the worst that could kind of happen, right? We have this fear of failure, and this fear of embarrassing ourselves, right? Like, where we're like, I might look an idiot. Been there, done it, and kind of come through. The growth that you get from taking the leap is it's there's no going back, right? I knew straight away through that experience, and that because I'd taken a leap and really put myself at risk and was vulnerable and came out the other end. And every time, no growth comes from being in the same space. And I've seen this time and time again in the business sense, whether it's coming to Australia, leaving a job. I've done this several times where I've gone, this isn't right for me or whatever. I'm going to figure this out. And most people go, are you bonkers? It's happened time and time again. People go, you have kids, you have a mortgage, are you stupid? And I go, nope, but I back myself, right? So I think, just take the leap, mate. You'll surprise yourself in terms of not even what it means to you, but it's when you go there. The biggest thing that I found was you become a magnet for other people when you do extraordinary things, and you lean into adversity, and that's where the magic is, mate. If I could say anything, just set yourself big audacious kind of goals and just crack on.
Steve, I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks in Australia. Cannot wait to see you. Please, I remember I'm your friend. I do not want to fight you at all in any way, shape, or form. So just remember, we're tight. We're good. But thank you so much for being on the program. Steve Tolen, his information, he does have a podcast as well. I want you to listen to it. It is actually a very good podcast. He has inspirational guests on his podcast. They are great guests. I will have that in the link as well. So you have to listen to my podcast first before you get to listen to his, because the only way you can get it is get it on my podcast link. And then you'll have it then. We'll be right back right after this.
Every story begins with the truth. Some stories are meant to inspire. Some are meant to heal. All deserve to be heard. At Veritas Publishing House, we bring truth to life through the written word. At Veritas, we guide authors from vision to visibility with purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. This is more than just publishing. It's legacy. Veritas Publishing House, publishing truth, inspiring purpose.
Welcome back to the final segment of the 4Ps podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I'm enjoying my time in Buffalo. I'm thinking about things I want to eat tonight when before I go to bed and all that other good stuff. I think I'm going someplace tonight where I can watch the Sabres game. I remember just last year when the Sabres were bad, if I was in town, I can pick up a ticket for like $15. Not anymore. Sabres are good, so now we have to pay for it. With that being said, I also hope you enjoyed, I hope you enjoyed the interview. What I did love about Steve and what he does is that, he is a determined individual. When the chips were down, could you imagine flying all the way across the world from England to Australia? And that is literally all the way across the world. Okay. And going to another place and being without, like totally without. It is a very scary situation. And for him to, and I'm going to tell you, one of the reasons why he was so successful is because he had the support of his wife. Clearly, that was a supportive person. She is a great person, and no doubt about it. Because, at any given time, she wasn't attached to this. She wasn't attached to this plan. She could have said, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya, and that was all she wrote. And Steve did not have that in his life. He had a very good situation, and as a result, good things happen. Really good things happen. And, now he's out there boxing and hanging out with great people like Phil McDonald and all that other good stuff. I mean, he's doing it. He really is, and I'm very proud of him. I cannot wait to see him here in the next couple days. And it's funny that I can literally say here in the next couple days I will be able to see him. It's going to be a fun time to hang out with him, and I really am going to enjoy that time. Do not forget, we will be in Australia next week. Our podcast schedule is going to be a little weird. We are going to be doing some podcasts from Australia. They're not going to be live. I mean, we're not going to ever do that. I mean, I don't know if I have this. I do have the streaming capability, but I don't have the patience to do it. So, but we are going to be live, or not live. We are going to be filming on location in Australia. I do know that I have 2 podcast episodes that I'm going to be filming in Tasmania. And I have another one that I'm going to be filming in Sydney. So we are going to have those, but like I said, they won't be live. They'll be as close to live as possible, and you will not see the wood board set with the license plates and all the cool stuff for the next couple weeks. Until next week, though, I will see you soon. And again, I thoroughly enjoy everything I do. If you are in Buffalo and you are watching this podcast right now, do not forget Wednesday night, March 11th. Please be at the Deco. Come on down. It's going to be a great time. Talk to you soon. Have a great one. Bye-bye.